Sup, freaks? It's your boy Marty here to introduce this rip of RHR. Matt and I just had a qual one, and it was brought to you by our good friends at Unchained Capital. You freaks already know all about them. They're bringing Bitcoiners financial services with a security-first mindset, and this plays out in their Vaults product. Their Vaults product allows you to engage in a 2 or 3 multi-sig with Unchained Capital, in which you hold 2 or 3 keys, and Unchained holds that third key. You can use a Trezor or Ledger. You set up the multi-sig quorum, and you can always move your UTXOs out of the vault by yourself without the help of Unchained. You still have self-sovereignty over your UTXOs. But if you're ever in a pinch, you only have one of the 2 keys needed to sign to move a UTXO. Unchained is there to be that second of 2 of 3. Is that correct? Yeah, they'll be the second in the 2 of 3 signature. On top of that, they have their collateralized loan product. Friends don't let friends sell Bitcoin. If you're in a pinch and you need cash, you can put Bitcoin up as collateral and get same-day liquidity in US dollars to your bank account. As long as you're keeping the Bitcoin margin and paying back that loan, you do not have to sell your Bitcoin. You can keep your Bitcoin. Again, friends don't let friends sell Bitcoin. On top of that, friends encourage friends to buy Bitcoin. And Unchained is slowly rolling out their OTC desk, which allows individuals to purchase Bitcoin OTC, bigger amounts. Right now it's only Texas, California, and Illinois, I believe. But they're going to roll that out slowly across the country as well. And they're doing that. They're staying true to their ethos, and they're allowing you to buy OTC and then send it straight to a wallet that you custody yourself, whether it be a vault or a personal wallet. They are doing a white glove service to make that possible for you freaks. On top of that, they've got their open source initiatives, which include their multi-sig quorum software, Caravan. So if you want to set up multi-sigs without Unchained being involved at all, you can download Caravan and do that yourself. On top of that, they're working on Slip 39, Hermit, and they've got their incredible blog series, which includes Parker Lewis's Gradually and Suddenly, Drew Bonsall, writing about hodl waves and Bitcoin in space, Phil Geiger, Joe Kelly, and Buck Purley, not Pursley, I'm sorry, Buck Purley, adding incredible content on that blog. If you have somebody who's new to Bitcoin looking to learn more, the Unchained Capital blog is a great place to send them. So go check out all this at www.unchained-capital.com. That's www.unchained-capital.com. Go check all this out. Shout out to our good friends at Unchained. Thank you guys for sponsoring the podcast. This episode is also brought to you by our good friends at the Cash App. May have heard of them this week. They sold a shit ton of Bitcoin. We talk about it in this episode. They are the easiest way to stack sats in America right now. You download the app and you can start stacking sats very easily. You can stack sats, send sats, receive sats, sell sats if you so please. Remember, you can send sats. You can send sats to personal custody. Make sure you're doing that. Be aware of the withdrawal limits. Use the product and use the ability that Bitcoin gives you to take custody of your UTXOs. You can send your UTXOs from Cash App to a personal wallet. On top of that, you can make sats the standard, all right? We're not buying fractions of a Bitcoin anymore. We're buying whole sats, and you can DCA into sats. That's dollar cost average via the Cash App as well. You can set it for daily, weekly, bi-weekly. Set it and forget it. Just set up your DCA strategy via the Cash App. Again, the easiest way to buy Bitcoin. And on top of that, they've got the Cash App investing. If you want to stack slivers of stonks, you can do that. If your favorite stock's a little too expensive, you can invest as little as $1 because all this is connected to your bank account. There's no 4 to 5 day waiting period, so you can start investing today. Cash App investing is a subsidiary of Square, member SIPC. On top of that, Cash App is giving you the ability they are potentially your bank account. They have account numbers and routing numbers. You get your paychecks direct deposited into the Cash App. No more need to deal with the banks like Bank of America, JP Morgan. You can use the Cash App. You can just use the Cash App. It's possible now. When you do download the Cash App, if you haven't already, make sure you use the code STACKINGSATS. That's STACKINGSATS. You're going to get $10, and $10 is going to go to our good friends at Owls Lacrosse. That's Owls Lacrosse. Woo! 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 Use the code Stacking Sats. Download the Cash App and enjoy this rip of Rabbit Hole Recap. Love you, freaks. Tiki.
You've had a dynamic where money's become freer than free.
If you talk about a Fed just gone nuts, all the central banks going nuts.
So it's all acting like safe haven.
I believe that in a world where central bankers are tripping over themselves to devalue their currency, Bitcoin wins. In the world of fiat currencies, Bitcoin is the victor.
I mean, that's part of the bull case for Bitcoin.
If you're not paying attention, you probably should be.
LOL, I am already overwhelmed. Anyone who says they are ready for this next cycle is full of shit. Matthew, this is something you tweeted out 21 hours ago around 7:30 p.m. Eastern last night. What the hell's going on, man? You're already overwhelmed?
It was kind of a subtweet to you because you said, I am ready, but a couple days ago.
My body is ready. My body is ready. I don't know if my body's ready.
I think people misinterpreted the tweet a little bit. Like, I'm personally ready. I've prepared myself for this for many years, and I've been there with the freaks trying to prepare together with them for what now? It's been like 2 years, right? With you. What I'm not ready for is the flood of normies coming. I'm not ready as someone who has a front row seat in trying to help people use Bitcoin safer and smarter. I am not prepared for the flood of bullshit and the flood of charlatans and the flood of shitcoiners. And you know what triggered that tweet? What triggered that tweet was Davey Day Trader.
Portnoy, he's getting under your skin?
No.
Don't do that.
No. He's not getting under my skin. It was just like, like that made it real, right? Like this cycle is going to be, it's not going to be like other cycles in the past. It's going to be at a scale that's way crazier, right?
Yeah, I mean, last bull run, he hopped in towards the tail end.
And now this is 2016. We're basically in the 2016 equivalent of last cycle.
Yeah.
And then there's like other big accounts that were like, I just bought my first Bitcoin and shit that like I've never heard of, just like random ass normie accounts. And it's just, I think people don't realize, like in 2015, the price was like it dropped to 150, right? If you told people that in 2 years it was going to come close to hitting 20K, they would have laughed you out of the fucking room. In the beginning of 2017, Vinny had his famous blog post where he was like, I sold 95% of my Bitcoin. Bitcoin was trading at like $950 at the beginning of 2017.
Fuck you, Vinny.
So, Bitcoin has a tendency that if you don't stay humble, it will humble you. It will catch you off guard and you will get wrecked. So I am ready, but I'm not ready. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. Nah, I had this. It was my cousin's birthday last night. We went out on the town. There's probably like 15 of us separated through two tables. One of girls' table and a boys' table. I was at the boys' table, obviously. I identify as a male, and we got into like a deep Bitcoin conversation. It is like exhausting trying to walk people through this, but no, it's coming. People are asking.
My favorite part about that conversation is when you go to them, you go, just put in a little to start, and just buy a little every week. That's the safest way to do it. Like long term, you're focusing on the long term. The price doesn't matter as much short term to you. And then they go, "Is that what you do?" And then you turn to them, you're like, "Oh, well, I'm basically all in at this point, but I still buy a little every week."
I'm irresponsibly long, and I don't care who knows it. I don't care.
So I saw that tweet too, So I also I think we should unpack that a little bit, right? Because
that was a joke, taking that Raoul Powell tweet.
Right.
I just thought of that Sally Fields quote in my head. I thought that was a good play on that.
But here's the thing, right? Is there's different levels here. Like when I say stay humble, first of all, it's not in reference to dunking on Bitcoin deniers. Like everyone loves dunking on Bitcoin deniers. It's a favorite pastime of me. I go around stamping people's tweets in the bear market. Like what the fuck? Obviously, there's different levels to it. Like if you're close to all in, but you're controlling your own keys and you're not using leverage and you don't have a lot of debt, ideally no debt, like that's way more humble than if you're like doing a 50x long on BitMEX and they're custodying all of your coins, right? And like we saw in on March 12th, the people who weren't humble, the people that had a lot of leverage and who weren't thinking long term, they got absolutely wrecked, right?
Yeah.
So, like, just because you have a very large Bitcoin allocation and percentage of your total net worth doesn't necessarily mean it's the most irresponsible play. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think there's way more irresponsible things you can do in terms of Bitcoin, and especially when shitcoins get involved.
Yeah, it was a very nuanced answer. No, I agree. I like to think I fall into the former category of the two you laid out earlier.
That Raoul Paul fucking tweet was crazy, right? He was like, what did he say? He was like, at this point, I feel like you shouldn't even invest in any other asset. You should just invest in Bitcoin.
I don't see a good reason for owning any other asset in the long term. That's a strong statement there from our boy Raoul. Didn't mention Ethereum in that either, which I bet many people are expecting. It is. I had a conversation with Lynn Alden earlier this afternoon, and these macro investors are coming around to it. And it is, considering the state of the world and the state of the U.S. dollar and the Fed's policy right now, it is hard not to look at Bitcoin and be like, why wouldn't you own that? Like, it's irresponsible not to at this point. We got plenty of topics that reinforce this idea, but there's Pandora's box is wide open, and I think at this point in time it is glaringly clear that it's not closing. Bitcoin's not going anywhere. It's only going to get stronger from here, and it's going to get stronger in many regards, whether it be a hedge against inflationary policies of central banks or an investment in technology that's going to enable individuals to do things that have never been possible before.
And also, don't forget deplatforming. Like, basically 2020 has been one giant lesson by governments and corporations on what the value prop of Bitcoin is. Like, if you didn't realize before 2020, you probably realize it now.
Yeah, it's getting absurd. The things that are getting censored, the people are getting deplatformed at this point. I mean, we've been saying it's inevitable. We'll probably be deplatformed at some point for wrongthink. So I hope you guys are enjoying this podcast while it lasts.
Well, the nice thing about Bitcoin circles is when you get deplatformed, you get the deplatformed bump. So remember when like Pomp broke the rules of the iTunes store, and he was like, they're trying to censor Bitcoin, and he got the pump out of that.
That was a nice growth hack. By Pomp. Pomp's good at that.
What are you drinking today, Marty?
I've got some Austin East Ciders Brut super dry cider. Only 100 calories. 4.2% alcohol by volume.
I have Oban Little Bay Scotch single malt, courtesy of freak Peter McCormick, who mailed it to me. So thank you, Peter, whoever you are out there. Appreciate you.
Hey, Peter sounds like a nice guy. It's a very, very generous gift.
He's figuring it
out. Yeah, man, it's exciting times. We're going to pop to Clark Moody's dashboard. Clark Moody, the episode will drop tomorrow. I was hoping it would drop on Monday, but had some holdups there. We're good to go now, though. Finally confirmed.
We're in a race.
We're racing who?
Clark Moody's pod needed to get approved for another podcast as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
We're in a race. Listen to them both. Clark is great.
Yes, he is.
It's with Daniel Prince. He just recorded with Daniel Prince. I also just recorded with Daniel Prince. That's how I know.
Yeah. We went deep with Clark. Yeah. We hit a lot of topics. Got a little dark at points. Got very optimistic at points. I think you guys are going to like it. And what I like, and a lot of the topic of the conversation was this dashboard, which right now is reporting that the Bitcoin price is $11,864, hovering right below that $12,000 range. Market cap right now is $219.6 billion. The GBTC premium, is 21.8%, climbing a little bit, and closer to that 25%, which is it has hit before in the past. Hasn't gotten as high as 40% at some points.
What stat is this?
The GBTC premium.
Yeah, I think it's gone even higher than that. In 2017, it got crazy.
Yeah.
What'd you say the market cap is? 220 billion.
Around there, yeah, 219.6.
I recorded a pod with Jack Mahlers, Nick Carter, Giacomo, Andrew Polstra on Peter McCormick's 250th episode, and Jack Mahlers nonchalantly said $1 trillion market cap within the next 12 to 16 months.
Would not be surprised.
So what is that? That's 5x? That's pretty crazy that it's only 5x. I guess it's not that crazy of a prediction.
No. But it's crazy. Like 1 trillion is a pretty big number. Pretty nice round number. A nice benchmark, if you will. I would not be surprised if that happens either. Gold's rallying this week, too. Bitcoin priced in gold is still hovering around 5.7 ounces of gold per Bitcoin. Bitcoin's market cap versus gold is 1.65%. Right now, you could buy 280 barrels of oil with Bitcoin. We're at block height 642,526. We are currently 578 blocks away from the next retarget, which is estimated to be around August 10th right now. And the difficulty change is estimated to be only 0.4% upwards. Block time in this epoch is coming in at 9 minutes and 57 seconds, so only 3 seconds quicker than the 10-minute target. There are currently 31,846 transactions in Clark's mempool. Blocks to clear is 49 blocks right now to clear that mempool. It's been almost 27 minutes since the last block, so we got a little slow block here. Protecting next block. Fees versus reward is 22.25%. That's pretty big. $95,000 block reward for whoever mines block 642,527. Wow. It's a pretty big reward. Yeah. Fundamentals look healthy right now.
Everything just seems really bullish, which just, we're either right or it just dumps, right? I mean,
yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
It really feels like, damn, man. I keep getting the FOMO, but there's no, why do I have FOMO? It doesn't make any sense.
It's impossible not to, right? I mean, we talk about this too. Like, you can attempt to prepare for the mental roller coaster ride we're about to go on, but you can never fully prepare. It is astonishing, like, how quickly and how high these numbers can get when you compare them to traditional assets that people are used to buying and holding. Hold on to your butts, freaks. It's going to be crazy.
What is the Whirlpool unspent? Did you say that?
I did not. Whirlpool unspent currently is 1,168.71 Bitcoin.
I think that's my favorite stat because that stat isn't easily artificially inflated.
It isn't?
Right? Yeah, because I'm not accusing anyone of anything, but with both Wasabi and Samurai, the teams don't have to the main thing that limits you pushing Bitcoin through and then re-pushing it through to inflate the numbers is the fee you pay to the teams. So if they're paying it to themselves, they don't really have that cost. They just have miner fees. But with unspent capacity, you can't really do that, because if you try and feed it back through as a new TX0, then unspent capacity stays neutral. So I think it's my favorite stat in the Whirlpool category.
It's pretty healthy, right? It seems like it's
kind
how
of
the
flat
stats, like,
around.
Yeah, so
right? It's like slowly increasing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and it's also important with miner fees going up, right? Because that unspent capacity is the capacity that doesn't have to pay miner fees anymore, that are already in Whirlpool pre-high fee environment.
Yeah, the fee rate right now, average fee is 72 sats per byte.
Should I make the call? We are never going to see 1 sat per byte again in 2020?
I want to make it just yet.
Too early?
Too early. Too early, I think.
I've been making that call to Catan, our boy Catan, once a week for the last 4 weeks, because he does every transaction he does is 1 sat per byte. So I'm just one of these days you're just not gonna. I mean, it doesn't matter. He can just increase the fee with RBF, or the receiver can use child pays for parent, but still, it's a nice tease.
Yeah.
High fees are coming.
They're coming, freaks. Be aware. Be aware. Expect them.
Open Lightning channels, manage your wallets, UTXOs, use CoinJoin, consider jumping into the Whirlpool now while fees are still lower. All these things, you got to keep this in mind now before fees get completely out of control.
Prepare. Things can get out of control quickly. This stuff can happen quicker than you imagine. Before we jump into the list, let's get to the shout-outs. There's a lot to talk about, a lot to be bullish about. 2 shout-outs this week. Love you, freaks. Thank you for the shout-outs. Hi, gentlemen. I have a friend with access to small amounts of free power, and he has some computer science experience. Advice on setting up a miner. Would setting up a single machine make any sense? Not looking to get rich, mostly just earn a little, and a few non-KYC sats. Sounds like a good time. That is... that. So let me reread this. Friend with access to small amounts of free power. Yeah, I mean, if the power's free,
do it.
Advice on setting up a miner.
It's easy as fuck. You don't need any computer science background. You just plug it into the Ethernet and you plug it into the power, and then you just connect it to the pool. It's super easy.
I know. I'm trying to think of which miner to buy. Should you go secondary market, try to find a distributor here in the States? I think you probably go secondary market, try to find an M20S or an S17.
Well, if you have free power, right, you don't care about efficiency.
I mean, you could get an S9 if you want, but if you want to run it, depends on how long you have this free power. If you want more sats and you're willing to pay more for a miner.
It also depends what your free power situation is. You don't want to, if all of a sudden whoever
you don't want to draw attention to yourself.
Yeah, someone's paying the bill, so you don't want it to be way too high. Otherwise, they're gonna ask you what the fuck is going on in there.
Yeah, it's loud. So it's loud.
Oh,
know that.
Yeah, it's very loud.
It depends on where your free power is. If it's in a 1-bedroom apartment, it might not be.
Well, if you don't have a lady, it's fine. You can just deal with that. You got your KYC free sats. But if you if you have a lady living with you, you might want to reconsider putting it in the same bedroom. It's
or another male.
Yeah.
This
Whatever
is
your preference is.
I mean,
you can pay them off with some of the sats.
If it's free. So the question is, advice on setting up a miner. Would setting up a single machine make any sense? Advice on setting it up. Like Matt says, very simple. You plug it in, you connect to it, and you point it towards a pool, and they'll start paying you sats on the reg. Would a single machine make any sense? Yes. If it's free, that makes a lot of sense. You're going to be earning sats for free. So
not only does it make sense, right? You should probably just start with a single machine and take it from there.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't go buy 10.
No.
Take it nice and slow, and you don't have to buy, if you have free power, don't buy like the latest and greatest. Definitely don't pre-order any miners.
No, don't do that. Number one, that will take too long. And number two, yeah, way too expensive.
It's almost always a bad deal to pre-order.
Yeah. Find a secondary market. Try to buy a little older version. Get an M20S S17. Probably be cheaper than, obviously they will be cheaper than S19 M30S.
Cool.
That's actually, that's on the list we could talk about. We'll talk about it now. Bitmain. Did we talk about this last week? I don't think so. That's actually, so we mentioned on Clark Moody's dashboard that the next difficulty adjustment is basically flat, and says just being in a bunch of mining groups, there's a lot of interesting discussion going on, and like what's hash rate going to do towards the end of the summer, beginning of fall, due to a multitude of factors. So main driver of which is like S9s, S12s, I believe too. It doesn't make any economical sense to replace any of the parts. So if they start breaking down, people are just going to unplug them and not get them fixed and plug them back in. So that'll be a reduction of hash rate. That'll contribute to a reduction in hash rate. And then on top of that, Bitmain, for you freaks who are unaware, they're going through like a crazy internal struggle between Jianwu and Macri. And so Jihan has control of the chips, and I believe one factory that does manufacturing, and Macri has control of one of their manufacturing factories. And so all like the newer S17s and S19s are getting delayed. They actually came out with an announcement today, I believe, or yesterday, announcing that any July or excuse me, August, September shipments of S17s and S19s should be expected to be delivered in now October, November, and they're like giving coupons out. So there's going to be huge supply chain disruptions for anybody running Bitmain equipment, which could lead to like a little bit of a leveling of hash rate or a slower increase in hash rate due to the fact that those boxes will not be making it to market as quickly as people expected.
The Bitmain story can all be explained by just the fact that they didn't stay humble.
They are the Icarus story of the Bitcoin world, of the early Bitcoin story. Bitmain is Icarus. They could have done incredible things and run a very good business. They flew too close to the sun, and now they're falling to earth. And what's miner, MicroBT, I think is going to blow past them in terms of professionalism and quality of product.
But you know what? I think like the whole reason they were the juggernaut they were was because they just went balls to the wall in the bear market to begin with. So they never really ever did. They never, there was never a conservative Bitmain, you know? They just burnt out. It was like the reason they achieved the success they achieved was because of that strategy, and that was the same reason they failed ultimately, you know? So it is what it is. But they were
that's
never,
the
they
crazy
were never
part.
humble.
They haven't completely failed yet. It's like, oof. But there's, so again, it's a splitting of two factions, and this splitting has literally split up their ability to actually produce these machines and bring them to market. So
well, it's more than that too, right? Because isn't What's Miner like ex Bitmain guys?
yeah, the Zhang, the guy who, I believe it's Zhang, I could be wrong on his last name, Dr. Zhang, he designed the chip for the S9.
And then he split off and made his own company, right?
Yeah, he's the founder of MicroBT, and he's designing the M20S, M30S. So those machines, I mean, we've seen this in the field too. We actually, at Great American Mining, sort of took that bet. We're like, hey, if this guy's going to start his own company and he designed the S9, we should probably be buying his machines. So we're all of our operations use What's Miners, and it's turned out to be an incredible decision. We've been running for 9 months straight. We haven't had one miner failure yet. One M20S. We're running M20Ss right now predominantly. We haven't had one.
That's
actually
impressive,
fail.
especially since they're like on site.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
not like in
They've been-
managed warehouses.
No, they've been through winters with negative 40, a winter with negative 43 degrees Fahrenheit, and this summer.
What is that in Celsius, Marty?
I have no idea. 33.
For our international listeners.
I have no idea. And now I got up to like 102 at some point this summer too.
For our international listeners, it's very cold. Very cold.
Very cold. Very cold. Yeah, so we're very happy with that. And if you talk to other miners running S17s, particularly S19's a little better, but S17s have had a relatively high failure rate. Some batches like with like 33% failing, which is pretty terrible.
Doesn't get much worse than that.
No, that's a huge.
Any higher than that, and you're
loss.
just talking about recalls.
Exactly. Apparently, yeah, their heat sinks on some batches of the S17 that completely fucked up, and so that's why they have the high failure rate there. So be aware. Be aware. What's miner, I think, will be the leader in the mining world in the next 3 to 4 years, earliest, or latest, I would say. All right, second shout out from our boy Real Bitcoin Granny on Twitter at Real Bitcoin Granny. All right, chaps, who wants it? Real Bitcoin Granny here to shamelessly shill TFTC Rabbit Hole recap. This shit is essential, freaks. Shout out to Uncle fucking Marty and Matt Odell. TFTC RHR, share this shit. Be prepared to be ignored. Tell everyone to give a fuck about TFTC. Fix the money, fix the world. Stay humble, stack sats. I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore because I motherfucking don't have to take it anymore because I Bitcoin. I love it when the bear instrument comes together. Love you guys. Love you, Bitcoin Granny. An impassioned shout. I love the impassioned shout outs.
Fucking fantastic. We appreciate you. Thank you for the shout out.
All right, now we haven't even made it to the list yet. Tor, we talked about last week, the 0 day, which Matt gracefully corrected my assumption of the definition of that term. Tor came out with a response to that disclosure, and they seem to say that it's been well known, correct, and nothing really to be too scared about.
Well, ironically, Tor lectured him on the definition of a 0 day.
Really?
So we can pretend like they were also lecturing you on that. But yeah, they're saying that the leak these are known vulnerabilities, and that they want to solve them, but that they're known, and he's and it's kind of what we said. This is like it's the hardest problem for them to solve, which is authoritarians blocking access to Tor in the first place. But in terms of vulnerabilities for Tor, like the real concern is actual users of Tor getting de-anonymized when they don't know they're getting de-anonymized, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're an authoritarian country, you don't want them to know you're using Tor. So it's definitely a concern. I'm not trying to dismiss it. But anyway, you can read Tor's. We're linking Tor's response here. Some people were unsatisfied with it. They want them to fix it. I assume they want to fix it. It seems like they want to fix it.
It's an open source project if you want them to fix it.
It's
roll your sleeves up. And
this just goes back to what we said last week as well, right? Is like I think everyone who uses Tor has a love-hate relationship with Tor, at least the people that know better, right? It's like we absolutely need this shit, but there's a lot of issues. and relying on it is not ideal, but it's what we have.
That's all you got. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's another thing that pees me off about this stuff, and I say this about Bitcoin all the time. People want it to be perfect and ironclad out of the box. It's just not possible. Like, nothing's going to be perfect, especially with software.
Yeah,
talk to software, like...
Hopefully we have alternatives. It would be nice. Like, there's some... Like, there's, like, I2P... There's ZeroNet. There's alternatives that are out there that are being worked on. Just when you compare all the trade-offs, Tor right now is the best of the options. You know, I say that with a solemn face, and Marty can see it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see how it plays out. We need more options. We privacy on the internet is extremely difficult. I just on this note, you know, we talk a lot about the dangers of KYC. I don't think people really fully comprehend how much data they're leaking when they're not using a VPN in terms of their IP address. And it's less so for people who live in cities. But if you live in a small town and it's only a town of like 1,500 people and you're broadcasting to the world which town you live in, even if you're not a sophisticated actor who can figure out exactly whose IP address belongs to who, not only can you track this single user across the internet, but you can tell which town of 1,500 people they live in. And when you start to think about it in those kind of terms, like this is one of the things that worries me about Bitcoin when, you know, people compare it to the internet, because I do think there's a lot of comparisons there. I mean, some of the comparisons fall flat. But the internet never really hit its goal of being properly censorship resistant and private, right? And I think we could end up in the same situation as Bitcoin, where same situation as the internet with Bitcoin, where it achieves broad success and number goes up, and you know, and we have sovereignty in certain aspects, but when it comes to privacy, there's going to be a lot of band-aid things that we're going to have to do, and people are going to have to like actively seek out privacy, and it's very much intertwined with these shortcomings on the internet. Like I wonder, I was thinking about this the other day, I bet you that if you talk about the top 3 governments in terms of capabilities, so US, China, Russia, they probably know like 90% of Bitcoin users' IP addresses. They probably got that information. We talk about KYC a lot, but they probably have that information. Even if you were completely fine on like the network level, which no one really is, very few people are, you post a Bitcoin address here, you post something here, you download an app here, stuff like that, like. So it's just something that every Bitcoiner should constantly be thinking about.
I'm optimistic it's going to get better. Some of the analysts I read about today, RGB, is like a second, third layer protocol for NFTs and other such things, and interesting smart contracting capabilities, and they're going to be using zero knowledge proofs. So that'll enable some cool stuff.
RGB on Lightning?
Yeah. Apparently they launched that flew under the radar. They launched that an implementation like over a month ago. I just caught it today. I saw Bob McElrath talk about it on Twitter, so I decided to write about it in the bet. It's something that's exciting. And again, so for you freaks who are unaware of RGB, it was an idea presented by Giacomo Zucco and Peter Todd, I believe in 2016 or 2017. And basically, they want to do NFTs, colored coins. I'm not sure if colored coins is the right way to describe them. And smart contracting the right way in like a scalable and private way.
It's tokens on Lightning.
It's tokens on Lightning, but like tokens done the right way, if you will. Like they're actually scalable.
Scalable tokens.
Yeah, I mean you're not clogging a whole blockchain with all that, with crypto kitties and shit like that. If you want it, like that's
the
something
crypto
that
kitties will be on Lightning instead.
Apparently. And I've said this in the past, like I have no, at least at this point, like no desire to use or hold NFTs. You like them in gaming.
Yeah, I think they're like kind of interesting in gaming, right?
Yeah, me personally, like, but if people want them, they're coming to Bitcoin. That's good.
And I see the tether value prop. I think there's a lot of trade-offs and risks there that people don't account for, and what
do you mean?
I don't think they're advertised well.
For RGB?
No. With asset-backed tokens.
Oh, yeah.
When you have a centralized third party that is enforcing it behind the scenes, it doesn't really matter what the security model is.
Well, that's the interesting part about RGB. There's no centralized party. Individual users hold the states of their specific.
No, but if you have Tether,
engagement.
if you have Tether on RGB or whatever, if you have a Tether
yes.
token on Lightning, then you're trusting that the Tether company is holding dollars in a bank account somewhere, or
100% true.
or Bitcoin
Yes.
backing it or whatever.
Yes. Agreed. But you can set up the mechanics.
But that's what
of
I'm saying. It
interacting.
doesn't matter. Like, it could be on Dogecoin. Like, the security model doesn't matter because the what you actually care about isn't, a 51% attack or something. What you care about is Tether actually, you're trusting the Tether
Solvent.
corporation. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you trust Tether?
No, I've never trusted Tether.
Where did Bitfinex go? Is he still floating around?
I don't know. He blocked me and he deleted all of our back and forths, so it's really frustrating. I spent way too much time arguing with him years ago about how he said Tether collapsing was going to crash the price of Bitcoin. So
Hasn't happened yet.
even if Tether collapsed, it wouldn't crash the price of Bitcoin. It makes no sense. The logic does not flow. Because where would you run if Tether was collapsing? You'd run right into fucking censorship-resistant money.
Right.
And it would result in a price pump. Makes no sense.
Hey, stop making so much sense, Matt. You're thinking too clearly.
Oh, that reminds me. Stop. You're telling me to stop. Stop and Decrypt is not a real person. It's Gregory Maxwell's sock puppet. So just to
And
make that clear, like that is.
And he's a dear friend of ours. Greg Maxwell is a dear friend of ours. We're going to have him on the podcast one day. Greg, can't wait. I know you're listening. Staying on disclosures. Tor had a response to last week's disclosure a couple days ago. Monarch, is that how you pronounce it? Monarch?
No idea. Monokh.
Monarch?
If they wanted us to pronounce it correctly, they would have chosen a different name.
They disclosed a bug on Ledger, calling it the Ledger app isolation bypass. And the summary is the Ledger device exposes Bitcoin mainnet public key and signing functionality outside of Ledger's quote-unquote Bitcoin app. It presents misleading transaction confirmation requests indicating the selected app's addresses and amounts when in fact different transactions are being signed. So the way I'm reading this is there's a bug in which an attacker could present an address and have you sign the movement of a UTXO, but it's really going to an attacker's address.
Well, no. So it happens. So this is, Rodolfo had a field day with this one because this is like the perfect example of where Bitcoin only
hit your bingo
protects you,
boards.
because the vulnerability is if you're using a Bitcoin fork. So, and that's not just Bcash or Bitcoin Gold. Like if you're using the Litecoin app on your Ledger, you could think you're sending Litecoin transaction, but the attacker changes it so you're sending a Bitcoin transaction to the attacker's address, and you don't realize. So Ledger does have a response. They updated the app. If you have a Ledger, you should update your Bitcoin app. If you have Bitcoin forks, you should probably sell them and just go Bitcoin only. But the change they made, because they basically need this capability to support the forks. So the change they made is now it gives you a big ass warning when it's happening. But yeah, that's the gist of the issue is that you think you're transacting in Litecoin and you see a different transaction on the device, but you're really approving a Bitcoin transaction.
Yeah, I saw our boy Monarch. Our boy Monarch responded to Ledger. He was not happy with the way they were portraying his disclosure.
Yeah, they kind of went with like the feature, not a bug kind of thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So be aware.
It could have been better, but they were quick about it at least, and they did release a patch, and it does show a big ass warning. And Bitcoin only users were unaffected. So even there's a class of bugs where the shitcoin support would fuck you, even if you weren't using the shitcoins. In this case, you had to actually actively be using the shitcoins in order to get hit by the bug. But yeah, I mean, it's not great. It's not. We love the cold
Shit.
card here. So
Shitcoining, not even once. Cold card. Actually really like this description, even though I'm not a developer. James O'Byrne tweeted out earlier today. James OB. Shout out to James OB.
love you, James.
He likened cold card to Vim, which if you guys are software developers, I'm sure you get that. But if you're not, Vim is apparently like the creme de la creme of I can't even think of the correct term for it. It's where you write the code.
On a positive note, I'm hearing from some good sources that Ledger full node integration into Ledger Live is imminent. So very good to see.
Very good to see. What the hell is it? Vim. What is Sublime? Text. A text editor? No. Where you actually write the HTML, CSS. Do you know what I'm talking about?
What, Vim?
Yeah.
I
It's
have
a
no.
term.
I cannot explain it properly.
Is it a text editor?
I don't know. People will tell us. Tell us in the
Anybody?
comments.
I'm sure a lot of you freaks are shaking your head right now. I'm sorry
they're
for
completely shaking their
disappointing
head
you.
at us right now.
You know what? And I'm shaking my head at the 17-year-old.
It's like an environment, right? Is that the best way to describe it?
Dev environment. No, the dev environment is many parts. That's just one part of a dev environment. Yeah.
Vim is an editor language, is what they call it.
Yes. Yeah. Text editor. I think I was right there.
Its
very
initial release was 1991.
Yeah.
It's a terminal emulator. Nope. Vim running in a terminal emulator. Just ignore what we said about Vim. if you understood the reference, just be happy Uncle Marty brought it up. Thanks for that.
Yeah. And somebody schooled me on Twitter.
Yeah, school is supposed on Twitter. Live and learn. Well, we can explain it next week.
Speaking of Twitter, the Twitter hacker who hacked a bunch of accounts and asked for a bunch of Bitcoin and then stupidly sent that Bitcoin around the blockchain and to exchanges was caught. It was a 17-year-old and two others.
3 others?
And two others. 3 individuals charged for ledger rolls. Mason Shepard, a.k.a. Chaiwan, 19 of Bunyor Regis in the UK. Nima Fazeli, a.k.a. Rolex, 22 from Orlando, Florida. And there was a 17-year-old, but I don't think they could name him in the indictment because he's underage.
But he was the main one, right?
Yeah. His picture is a little creepy, too.
But they always pick the creepiest picture to, like they're going to make example out of this kid. He was just a dumb kid. You know?
Yeah. Light slap on the wrist. He's probably going to get hired to the NSA or some shit.
No, dude's going to get, they're going to throw the fucking book at him.
Really?
And he didn't even make that much money, you know? He
Right.
could have done so much harm. Look at what our boy Nick Carter was saying. Nick was he was like, thermonuclear war, this is a state attack. This is going to be. And, meanwhile, this, 17-year-old kid who, by the way, what they do is they sell, the high quality Instagram and Twitter names and stuff. Reply All I never listened to this podcast, but someone sent me an episode of it. It's a very mainstream podcast, and it was about what these guys do, which is they basically SIM swap people to take high profile Instagram names and Twitter names, and then they sell them. And they all operate on Discord, and Discord isn't encrypted. So that's what these kids were, and they stumbled onto this Twitter exploit, and it makes a lot of sense that they didn't realize what kind of power they had, right? We saw it gradually go to more big accounts, right? It was the smaller crypto accounts first.
It started with
I hate saying crypto, but it was crypto accounts. They weren't Bitcoin accounts.
Yeah, who was it? Angelo BTC was the first one.
Yeah, I guess
together?
he's Bitcoin, but then it went to CZ and the exchanges and CoinDesk, and then it moved to Biden got hit, right? And Obama got hit.
Biden, Obama.
That's
Elon,
why they're going to throw the book
Kanye.
at him. But really,
Obama.
I would say is if okay, let's agree that a lot of damage could have been done here that wasn't done because high-profile accounts got access. And, going down Nick's logic, it could start thermonuclear war or worse. I don't know if it gets worse than that or less than that.
I don't think it gets any. I don't think it gets any worse.
I think you got to punish Twitter too, right? Like Twitter is directly liable for this shit. How did they let their fucking God mode that they shouldn't even fucking had in the first place get accessed by a 17-year-old kid? Like what? Like this guy wasn't like a super hacker. Like he got admin privileges, and that was it.
They should be hiring him.
I don't even know if he was that talented. I'm not going to go that far to say they should hire him. But if they're gonna throw the book at this kid, and I'm saying this as a Twitter shareholder, they should throw the book at Twitter as well.
Ooh, Matt getting a little feisty there.
Fuck that shit. It's ridiculous. I hate when they just like throw the book at people. Like
that, like, and well, shout out to this kid because he leaked the admin controls at Twitter, and it's like obvious they're shadow banning threads and shadow banning people and topics, and
well, we all knew that.
I know we knew it, but we knew it as we had the intuition that it was happening.
Pretty obvious.
Yeah, but now you have full blown proof that it's possible. Man, I mean, wasted potential. Hey, you young freaks out there, you know what? Use your powers for good. And if you're going to hack Twitter and get Bitcoin, make sure you throw it right into Whirlpool.
Well, not even that, dude. Just if you used any kind of logic, instead of asking for Bitcoin scam address thing, where he's like, send 1 Bitcoin, I'll send you 2 Bitcoin. All you had to do was just send a single tweet from like Biden's account that was like, when I become president, I'm going to make Bitcoin the national currency, and then go 100x on BitMEX, and then he would have had a bunch of clean money that he made without having to take anything, and it would have been way more profitable.
Hey, you young freaks out there.
Don't tell them to do this. Do not do anything illegal, freaks. Be good, honest,
law-abiding citizens.
Thank you.
But if you got a mischievous streak... This was a panel that you held. You've been getting a lot of tick on Bitcoin Magazine, the panels. Threat of KYC.
I like those guys. The Bitcoin Mag guys are good. I
love them too. Was this a frustrating panel for you to Ragnar versus
Well, you
Parker?
know, I'm not... my moderator hat is a new hat. This was literally the first time I ever did first time I was. I guess I've run panels for Bitcoin Magazine in the past, like 2 or 3 times, but I'm not used to doing that. I'm used to just like speaking my mind. So I had a little trouble not speaking my mind, and to be honest, I think I did speak a lot. It's probably too much.
Hey, you live and you learn.
But I appreciate them having me. I'm learning. I'm trying to get better at the role. I appreciate Ragnar coming on. I appreciate Parker Lewis coming on. Disclosure, Unchained Capital is a sponsor of the podcast, which I did disclose before the panel as well. But everyone should go listen to that. I did appreciate that. So Bitcoin Magazine threw like a Bitcoin Independence Day for August 1st because of UASF SegWit activation, the anniversary of that. And they only had 3 panels, and one of them was on the dangers of KYC. So I think just the fact that we were having that conversation on that platform is a massive deal. We do have the link in the show notes. But also at the end, the Bitcoin Magazine team did like a little round table, and David Bailey was there. And they talked about some very interesting things about how like permissionless payments have taken a back seat. Because it kind of got taboo because the Bcashers were all about it, but like Bitcoiners, like they're not mutually exclusive. You know, like it can be a good store of value, and a good for censorship-resistant payments. Like both need to exist. You need to be able to spend it at some point.
Yeah, I don't think that's why the whole like hardo from both factions, the hardo stance is like it's got to be all.
Yeah, it's straw men on both sides.
Yeah.
So I think we kind of navigated it pretty well. KYC is a threat, but I would just say that KYC is a threat for everything we do.
Yeah.
It's not just Bitcoin. KYC surrounds our lives. Marty KYC'd in order to have the subscription to the Zoom, you know, or his boss did.
No, I did.
There you
I'm
go.
my own boss. No, that's like, that's a very good point to make. Like, KYC all over is a threat to us, and like people, for some reason, Bitcoin's money, and you want to be able to spend it at some point. So I understand why there's so much focus on KYC Bitcoin particularly. But the point I'm trying to get to is we need to, and I've said this plenty of times, we need to like start fighting against this stuff. Like, it is arduous, it is dangerous, and it's proven to be ineffectual. And then actually the biggest perpetrators of the crimes that these regulations are supposed to be stopping get away with it anyway, and they get handheld by the institutions that are implementing it for the plebs, and they just let the people doing the big crimes get away with it. So it's all bullshit. Fight back against KYC, fight back against AML-D5, destroy FATFA, fucking destroy
It's
all
not
these
effective.
unelected bureaucrats.
The
It's
criminals
not.
are doing it anyway. They use stolen KYC info. The rich people don't. It doesn't apply to them. So it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit, and it's just a way to control. And we do see more pushback on it in the communities where KYC historically hasn't been there, right? And the two big ones, or I guess the three big ones I would point out are Bitcoin, because we didn't have KYC in the past. Guns is a big one. Like, in the gun communities, like, if you have to get like registered and put on like a state list to buy your gun, like, some people say that's not a real gun. Like, you're not a real gun owner. And then phones. Like, it is really difficult now to get a phone without tying your and a lot of it is like this light KYC bullshit. Oh, renew like automatically, like subscribe even though it's prepaid, stuff like that. Like, add an email address, add all this stuff. But it's creeping in everywhere.
Fight back. Speak up. It's all fucked. They don't give a fuck about you, freaks. They don't give a fuck about you. They're only trying to make your life harder.
Can you hear the construction that's happening next door?
I cannot.
Okay, good. I'm not going to get up then. Close the window.
All right. We're already almost an hour in. The list is very long, but it's made up of a lot of software updates. So I'm just going to run through these if you freaks are
Wait,
running
before we
any-
do that, Ronin Dojo is on the OC Bitcoin Network in their full node spotlight. So go check that out. We have a link to that. That's a video. Very good.
Was Like Woe on that one?
No, he was not.
Shout to Like Woe anyway. I fucking love that dude.
Yeah, he's great.
Love to New York from this New Yorker. All right, software updates. If you're running any of these softwares, pay attention to the version numbers and where you should be updated if you like to stay up to date on the latest version. Bitcoin Core version 0.20.1 was dropped. Ride the Lightning version 0.8.3 beta was dropped. Async Phoenix version 1.3.2 was dropped. C Lightning version 0.9.0 was dropped. Raspberry Blitz version 1.6 was dropped.
Can I pause you here for a sec?
I'm going to go through them, then we'll go back and
Okay,
talk about
go. Thanks.
highlights. Nix Bitcoin version 0.0.12 was dropped. Blue Wallet version 5.5.2 was dropped. Blue Wallet Desktop Alpha was dropped. Spectre version 0.6.0 was dropped. Wasabi version 1.1.12 was dropped. Cold Card version 3.1.8 was dropped. And Trezor Model T version 2.3.2 and Model 1 version 1.9.2 were dropped.
Insane.
A lot of updates. I know Cold Card was a big one. You wanted to talk about
Raspberry Blitz.
Raspberry Blitz.
Just real quick. So Marty has a hard cutoff time in 12 minutes. So we do have a really bullish list here, so we're trying to do it justice. So I'm just going to be really quick here. Raspberry Blitz 1.6. The big thing here is IP2 Tor, which we've discussed previously on the podcast, which allows you to broadcast. You basically tunnel your Tor connection through a virtual private server so that you can hit ClearNet peers. And that's really important specifically for BTC Pay Server, because then now you're actually able to run BTC Pay Server in your home or in your office, while people that aren't running Tor can access it, which is the majority of people, without broadcasting your IP address and your location to the rest of the world. So that's a really big update there. Blue Wallet Desktop is only Mac, so that's something to keep in mind, and it is an alpha. I have not tested it out yet. Cold Card V 3.1.8 brings a bunch of updates, including those child seeds we discussed. Go to the MK2. You can actually get it on the MK2 now. I mean, I think you should just get an MK3, but if you have an MK2, now you have that feature. Lily Wallet, I tested out Lily Wallet's new upcoming update today, and it is fucking... I tested out with Kevin Mulcrone, who we had on the podcast. It is fucking fantastic. He added support for both the Trezor and the Ledger to Lily. I think it comes out next week. And he added, if you freaks remember, Lily right now can't do air-gapped cold card. Now it can do air-gapped cold card. So I did a multi-sig transaction with him through the internet where I was completely on my cold power, which Rodolfo sent me. Rodolfo, after the Lily episode, got mad at me that I didn't have a cold card to test with. So he sent me a cold card and a cold power, so shout out to him. The cold power is fucking sick. This, you attach it to the 9-volt battery. It is
so dope.
The fucking dopest thing ever. So anyway, the upcoming Lily wallet is going to be, like, we only kind of have it on the list. I'm just teasing it, but we're close. It needs full node support, but we're very close to user-friendly multisig. We're not there yet. User-friendly self-sovereign multisig, but we're almost there.
5.5 months. Wait, 5.5 months.
There you go.
I believe it was 2 weeks ago that you said 6 months.
Yeah, that's good. We can discount it 2 weeks now.
Another update or a launch, Lightning Networks came out with Lightning Terminal, which is pretty dope. Your home for Lightning liquidity. So it's a browser-based, self-hosted dashboard for the products that Lightning Labs is putting out, particularly Lightning Loop. So it allows you to manage your channels in a very UX-friendly way in the browser, but you're self-hosting it again. So it's pretty cool. They have a demo. We'll obviously link to the update. It's lit. Shout out to our good friend Jamal James, who worked on that product particularly, and that's why they hired him, for good UX UI design.
I closed that window. They just decided to just do massive construction next door. I don't know what the fuck's going on. Did you see this Rude Fox Burrow?
Yeah, this looks pretty dope.
So basically, it's like a software library you put on a Raspberry Pi or another single board computer, and
it's for wallets, right?
It like walks you through using dice rolls to create the randomness to create your seed. And what he did really well is actually like the UX around showing you that you're actually using the dice rolls, right? Because it's like, I'm rolling dice, I'm entering it, but is that actually what's creating
entropy?
Yeah, my randomness. And that's at BJDWECK, BJDWECK on Twitter. And I think this is pretty cool. I like it.
Shout out to BJD Weck. This month in Bitcoin privacy, our girl Janine has been dropping that monthly blog post on GitHub, if you will. I don't want to degrade it by calling it a blog post. It's
like a journal. I think it's a journal.
Yeah, journal's a much better description.
Or like a monthly newsletter.
She's got that. She's got 13 top stories pertaining to privacy and Bitcoin, everything from the IRS seeking to trace privacy coins to the Fourth Amendment lawsuit against the IRS to the Ledger data breach, Snort Taproot activation. So go check that out.
What's really cool about that is that it's an open GitHub repo. So if you follow it through the month, you can see her adding stories as you go. So definitely go check that out.
Shout out to Janine. Another Bitcoin journal hosted on GitHub, Words, came out. The July issue came out, and our good friend
Joe Rogers.
got Joe Rogers. Joe Rogers is running that.
One of us remembered.
I remember. I had Rogers in my head. I was trying to get the first name.
I got you. That happens to me all the time.
So that's out, and that's a great collection of the best content that was put out. Shout out to Joe, who's been putting that together for some time now. So if you ever are like looking for Bitcoin content that's more recent and you have some time, written, yes.
And I like his business model. You can download a paywalled PDF or like an e-reader version if you want, or you can just read it for free on GitHub.
Not too shabby. What else do we have here? Whew. Our boy Bitcoin Q&A on another RHR this time for his 10 steps to your first non-KYC Bitcoin using HODL HODL. So he walks you through how to use the HODL HODL exchange and get Bitcoin in a non-KYC fashion. Again, I mean, this dude's just putting out incredible explainers and walkthroughs if you guys are interested in using HODL HODL. Technically not supposed to use in the United States, and again, I'm not going to say you should do this or would advise you to do this, but if you use a VPN, you may be able to skirt that.
Please be law-abiding citizens. HODL HODL is awesome.
Yes. Shout out to the Human Rights Foundation. This is pretty dope. They hooked up 3 devs with 1 Bitcoin grants each, one of which our good friend Evan Kaludis was the recipient of.
They're
the
all
other
our
2.
boys.
Yeah, they all are. Only one has been on the podcast.
Open Arms has been on the podcast.
Oh, two have been on the podcast. I forgot
and
it was
fully
Open Arms.
noted, I know you're listening. When podcast.
Yes, Fontaine, when podcast. 2 of 3 have been on the podcast.
Yeah,
so
Fontaine,
Open Arms, Open Arms, Fontaine, and Evan Kaludis were the recipients of those. And I saw Evan paid that forward, and he created some bounties for Zeus.
He used
the
like
Zeus wallet.
60% of it for the bounties.
Yeah. So if you're looking to make some Bitcoin and want to help out with the Zeus project, you could do that. And then Matt already mentioned Fontaine's working on Fully Noted, and Open Arms, obviously, if you listen to that episode, working on Raspberry Blitz and Join Market.
I love that I called him Fully Noted. It's because he operates under 2 NIMs. He just tweets out of both like it's him, because they are both him.
Staying on the dev grants, OKCoin funds, Marco Falke, I'm pretty sure, has been doing an incredible job of maintaining the core repository and a bunch of other stuff. So he joins good 2 other TFTC alumnus and Fabian Yar and Moody Utarwar as recipients of grants from OKCoin. Shout out to OKCoin. 2020, the year of Bitcoin developer grants.
Fucking love it. It's
Did you
fucking
see,
in right now.
Did you see Niha's post today? And I think that started like a very interesting conversation, and I think we should probably mention it too, it is incredible to see all these developers and core developers specifically getting funded. One thing to keep in mind, though, is you have to balance the funding of stuff that adds new code to the code base with funding of people who are reviewing existing code of the core code base, reviewing
We're not
and
even
testing.
just funding. Like, we need more reviewers, right? Like, that's what James was trying to say in his thread.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, look,
So
that's what we're trying to hit with BitcoinDevlist.com. We're trying to hit, like, the tertiary. And that's all P2P, which is great.
Yeah. Yeah, Bitcoin Dev List. If you sponsor a dev on there, they'll DM you and say thank you. It's
And
pretty
if
cool.
you're a dev, just submit a PR and I will fucking merge that shit. Let's get it going. And if you're into UX, we have this Dennis put up this new tag system. So we can put you all under UX. So you can go to Bitcoin Devlist /tag/UX and just all UX designers will be there. So just everyone, I just want it to be like a massive portal of everyone accepting donations that is working on Bitcoin development. Okay, so don't be shy. Submit your shit. Thank you.
I thought we needed Gitcoin to do this stuff, dude.
Yeah. I mean, we need some shit token.
Devin sent us, man. They're all skewed. Huge news of the week. Retail is here. A lot of people have been saying, "Oh, retail's not here yet." Cash App announced their Q2 report got leaked. Square's Q2 report, and obviously in that is Cash App's numbers in the second quarter.
Wait, have their earnings not officially been released yet?
They were released, but they got leaked a day early.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure. They did $858 million in volume, or $875 million in Bitcoin volume during Q2, posting a $17 million gross profit on that volume. So that's sales volume, I believe. Again, the accounting with how they have to do that's a little weird. So
It sells and buys.
I think it was only sales or only purchases.
No, it's both. But the question
Okay.
is like, who the fuck is selling Bitcoin on Cash App? Is anyone out there actually selling Bitcoin on Cash App? If you're a freak out there and you've sold Bitcoin on Cash App, I guess don't. I mean, it's up to you. But if you want to comment that you did, I'm curious. Because I honestly don't think. I think 95% I think it's mostly a buy only. You just buy and you withdraw. And on that note, they should raise the withdrawal limits. And freaks, I hear you. I've been working on it behind the scenes. I'm trying to get the withdrawal limits increased. Okay.
I agree too. No, I mean they're gonna have to, especially if the price increases.
Yeah, that's immoral. The problem, right?
It would be immoral not to.
And that's why you guys, if you are using Cash App, you should be withdrawing
as much
right away. Hit your limits.
Not right away. Not right away.
Why?
Depending on how much you stack. I mean, if you stack, like we said this last week, if you stack $5.
Oh, right. But like you should be trying to hit your limits if it's a large amount, because if the Bitcoin price runs up, the limits are in USD terms, so you can end up in a situation where you can't withdraw, and that's not great.
Yeah, any of our friends at Cash App, disclaimer, their sponsor, are listening. Yeah, let's work on that.
Wait,
withdrawal
Cash App
limit.
is a sponsor of the podcast?
Yeah, you didn't hear, dude. No, I mean they've got to raise them, right? Like you can't. That would be fucked. Just UX feedback from Marty and Matt.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it is like regulatory issues.
YOLO.
And like the fact that their withdrawals happen so quickly, and the amount of KYC they do is obviously not ideal, but
it's also not as invasive as
it
a lot
could
of other
be.
people. Yeah.
If they raise their limits, so they're trying to trend a balance there, but it is heard, and it is definitely being pushed for by many people, not just us. So
yes, I can co-sign that message. Another pretty big news today: Casa is offering non-custodial Bitcoin buys through their app now. This is pretty big announcement late in the afternoon.
Weird move.
Why do you think so?
Well, they're using Wire as a partnership, right? Which already had like the Apple Pay. So this is their iPhone app, right? Mm-hmm. Which Wire already had like that test product out where you could buy with Apple Pay. So they integrated through Wire. If you want to talk limits, the limits are really low. It's $250 a day. And it is, I think, $1,500 total, and then you have to do additional KYC. The KYC is all handled by Wire. Cash App. Casa wants you to know that, and it does go straight to your non-custodial multi-sig wallet. They are claiming that they're the first ones who allow you to buy directly to non-custodial. I mean, that is just not true. So that is what it is. I wish they'd be a little bit more cautious with their claims.
Unchained rolled that out,
and besides Unchained, I mean, we had Get Bitter, we have Bull Bitcoin. Like, there's plenty of.
Doesn't River allow you to do that too?
I'm not sure, but like, there's plenty of services that were just by non-custodial, right? And like Swan is like they have like the auto withdrawal to non-custodial when you hit a threshold or whatever. But like, it's cool that it's there, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. And then the other thing is, just like, to be frank, like in the TechCrunch article, our boy Nick Newman, like, I love you, Nick, but you said you're quoted in that article saying it's impossible to get hacked if you use Casa. Like, don't make us. I don't want to have to call you out on that. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, just, can you be honest with the trade-offs? Can we not have this situation where you're claiming it's impossible to get hacked? It's possible to get hacked if you use Casa. Like, this should not be an argument. This should not be something that has to be said.
How so? If you have the app could get hacked and feed you a bad address, I guess. Assume.
You got cut off
Something
a
like
little
that.
bit there. What'd you say? Feed
said
you a bad address?
Yeah.
I don't know. There's like a million ways that things could go wrong. You know, like, is it like a pretty secure option? Yeah. Like, is it harder? Is it more secure than a lot of options? Is it hard to get hacked? Yes. You know, but we have a closed source app that a lot of people have on auto update, and like all these other things that are going on there. And like, it's not impossible. Nothing's impossible to get hacked. We have never, like, there's a revolution in computer science if they figured out a way that makes it impossible to get hacked. And I just saw in the TechCrunch article that it's impossible to get hacked, and it kind of grind my gears a little bit. That's all, you know. There's just a little bit of trust involved.
Hey, vent, brother, vent.
In both Casa and Apple and Google, if you're using the Google app, you know.
Yeah. Be aware, freaks. Be aware.
And the hardware wallets. It's like all these things. Like, impossible to get hacked. Like, fuck that. Come on, guys. Come on.
Nothing's impossible. We've learned that way too many times in this industry. I'm almost 10 minutes late to my next appointment.
I'm sorry.
No, it's not you. I'm enjoying this conversation, and I'm going to keep it going. Want to end it on like macro theme and just try to put perspective of where we are in this current market. To get like a couple news items that are confirming that we are ripping into a Bitcoin bull market. In my opinion, I wrote about it yesterday, and yesterday's been the relative weakness of the dollar index when compared to assets like Bitcoin, gold, and even stocks. So you see the dollar weakening over the last 3 months. It's fallen more than 7%, which is pretty big, considering it's supposed to be the staple coin of the world.
They should put that on every dollar. The stable coin of the world.
So to me, that signals a bit of potential beginnings of an inflationary event as people lose confidence in the Fed's ability to stabilize the dollar in the markets. And again, I've written about this and we've talked about it on this podcast many times throughout the last 4 or 5 months, is the Fed's printing in conjunction with the shutdown of the economy, the increase in unemployment paychecks and the amount that are coming in that paychecks, the airdrops, the Trump bucks, the PPP loans. It seems like an environment for inflation. The Fed is already coming out and saying they want to overshoot inflation. I think it's already here. So that's the point I'm trying to make. The dollar index has fallen significantly over the course of the summer. Obviously, gold broke $2,000, which was a huge psychological barrier for that market. Bitcoin broke out of the 11.5 range. Stocks are at NASDAQ's at all-time highs. The tech stocks are going crazy. And I'm not saying this is going to be hyperinflation. I'm saying inflationary event. But in other inflationary events throughout history, we've seen stock markets rally pretty high.
You got to start with inflation before hyperinflation.
Yes.
Gradually, then suddenly.
Yes, but to compound that too, like shout out to Matt Walsh from Castle Island VC, and on the Brink podcast, he pointed out yesterday morning that last week MicroStrategy, which is a publicly traded company, IT and consulting company, I believe, announced in their quarterly earnings report that they're going to start moving some of their cash balance into harder assets like gold and Bitcoin, which was a very interesting development. And to be completely frank, if you go look at MicroStrategy's stock price and the history of the company, they're not the most reputable
I never heard
company.
of them before.
Exactly. They're not the most reputable company or like something I would personally invest in. But
don't go buy that stonk.
No. But it is interesting that a publicly traded company is talking about diversifying their cash holdings into cash-like assets like gold and Bitcoin. Or they're not cash-like, they are just alternative cash assets.
But how is this different than like Long Island blockchain, Marty?
Because they weren't buying Bitcoin directly.
Well, that was
They're
like
just,
Long Island iced tea or whatever switched to mining.
Long Island,
at
yeah,
the
they
top,
just literally,
right?
they just literally put like blockchain in their name. I don't even think they did any mining.
But they like,
This
were
guy-
like, we plan on mining.
Yeah, this is different because that was a company strategy where, from my understanding, MicroStrategy's company strategy is not changing. They're going to stick to their core competencies, whatever they may be.
We don't know what they are, right?
And they're just shifting around capital in their balance sheet to hedge potential inflation of the dollar, which they said in their quarterly earnings
The
report.
real question
so
is, what does Apple do? They have so much cash on their balance sheet.
they have like $1 trillion worth of cash or something like that. It's crazy. Yeah. So be on the lookout for that.
Yeah,
A lot of
Tim
people.
Apple's listening. You should buy some Bitcoin.
Tim Apple. Tim. Hey, I know you're listening, Tim. You got to be wary of your shareholders. You're running a huge corporation. I'm using like 5 of your products right now. You can't fuck it up. You got to buy some Bitcoin.
Marty, before we go today, can we talk about how you created a Gemini account and set up a treasure for Davey Day Trader, and he doesn't remember where his seed is or that he even had a Gemini account? I saw you tweet underneath him, search in your Gmail for Gemini, and you have an account.
Yes, we can talk about this. I did help Dave because he admitted he's owned Bitcoin before. And
He has no idea where it is.
He lost the wallet I set him up with, obviously. Or maybe he could be lying. That's the thing about Dave. Dave knows how to lean into content and recognizes opportunities for quality content, viral content. He does a very good job at pushing the right buttons. And he may be playing dumb. I wouldn't be surprised if he is. He may not be, though. He may genuinely have forgotten. His life has gotten pretty crazy over the last 3 years.
I mean, he definitely knows he has a Gemini account, right?
I would hope so. I mean, he has to know that he did buy Bitcoin in the past. Like, how else would you have gotten it on the wallet that you lost? Yeah, I looking back in retrospect, though, maybe I shouldn't have set him up with a Trezor. Maybe it was too advanced for him at the moment. Maybe you have to take your audience in consideration. But I did. Like, I'll hand up. Like, there's a video of him, like, holding up a Trezor, like, in 2017, he's like, I'm in Bitcoin. It's like Mario or whatever, that video. He recorded that right after I set him up with his Trezor. And to be clear, freaks, I gave many disclaimers. Like, don't lose this. Don't lose your seed. Don't let anybody see your seed. Like, lock it up. Forget about it. Like, in a place
Well,
where
he forgot about it.
He did. I mean, like,
So
lock
maybe
it
that
up in
was
a place
poor
that
advice, Marty.
maybe it was. Maybe he took it literally. Where I was like, just forget that. Forget that you can move this Bitcoin and sell it. Just like keep it here and hold it. Yeah. Seems to have lost it. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he did. But Dave, if you do find that Trezor and you don't know your PIN or passphrase or have your seed, I don't think you put a passphrase on it.
Definitely didn't put a passphrase on it.
You're lucky because it was an older version of Trezor that can be hacked, and if you still have physical,
Well, they all can be hacked if you don't have a passphrase.
yeah. So if you still have physical access to that, Dave, and you're listening to this podcast, and you just forgot your PIN or something, we can get your Bitcoin back.
Was it a Trezor Model 1 or a Trezor T?
Model 1?
Okay, so it was like a little shield-like device with 2 buttons on the front, Dave. So just if you find that, we can hack into it. Or we
Yes.
can get someone to hack into it.
But I get thrown in with the bubbly gang.
Yeah, he doesn't
So
like you anymore.
I don't think he likes me.
Which is like, I feel like I got sold a bad deal. Like, I came onto this pod because I thought it was like Barstool related podcast, but we're just personas non grata. So I don't even.
You should have known when we first recorded in the fucking merch closet.
Yeah, we recorded around all the shirts. You know, there's a lot of merch in that room.
Hey, I want it to be clear. I'm a stoolie, big fan of Barstool, and very happy for the success that Dave has had. And
Did you see he gave a Chainlink shout out?
he said, I'm not buying Chainlink, right?
Yeah, but that's enough. Like, that pumps the price, right?
Yeah. I mean, is he going to be the McAfee of this round?
I
That's the
think-
other thing with
I
Dave.
think it could happen. I think
Anybody who's like optimistic that Dave's going to just like
no,
buy
it's gonna be
all
all
Bitcoin.
shitcoins.
Yeah, he's going to be pumping fucking tendies next week.
Dude had a fucking video where he was pulling out Scrabble letters, and he was just like, "We're gonna pick stocks based on the Scrabble letters."
Yes. Dave knows how to lean into content. This is going to be no different. So, be prepared.
I'm not
freaks.
ready for it. That's what I'm not ready for. That's what
And
I'm
we're
telling
closing.
you, freaks.
We're closing the loop of this episode. Be like, just expect, like Dave Portnoy is going to be a crypto influencer over the next year and a half. So, be ready. Hopefully, he doesn't try to make a bet that'll cut his dick off and eat it. Maybe we can get better shitcoin pumpers this time around.
You can say a lot of things about Dave, but if he made that bet, he would actually eat his dick.
I don't know. Yeah, he likes to use that thing, from what I hear. So.
Well, he wouldn't make the bet, is my point.
Yeah. Yeah, I doubt he would make that bet. But yeah, I'm happy that he's starting to talk about Bitcoin. It's inevitable. He's a gambler at heart and a day trader at heart too. So if something's got crazy price action, it's gonna pique his attention, pique his interest, and obviously has.
Did you see his like Bitcoin people are welcoming me video or whatever?
So fucking funny, dude.
That's exactly how Bitcoin
Space
Twitter
Jam one?
acts whenever someone fucking talks about Bitcoin, for what it's worth. Just
Dude, he
remember,
was-
guys, if a celebrity talks about Bitcoin and you want to go into their thread and pump Bitcoin, your audience isn't Bitcoin Twitter. Don't make your tweet to be for
Yeah, don't-
Bitcoin Twitter. You make it for their audience. You know,
And don't
if Alyssa
don't
Milano says Bitcoin, compose your tweet. If you're going to do it, compose your tweet for Alyssa Milano's audience. Don't compose it for Bitcoin Twitter.
Yes, and try not to reply guy too much.
Be a good reply guy. If you're going to reply guy, be a good, effective reply guy. You're targeting the person you're replying to's audience. That's
Yeah.
the target.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna stop trying to be a reply guy.
I'm guilty of it, but I
I
like
am
to
as
think
well.
I'm an effective reply guy. Be an effective reply guy. That's
I think I had a-
actionable advice. You guys are
Yes.
all going to be reply guys. Let's be honest. Be actionable. Be effective.
And we'll end it on that note. Be conscious. Be a conscious reply guy.
Just one more
Think
thing.
of their audience.
One more thing before we end, because Rodolfo wouldn't forgive me if I didn't say so. The new firmware makes the pin entry nice and smooth. It's extremely smooth. So just check that out. Very fast.
All right, boss. Yeah, that's good. I'm happy to hear that. That's one of my pet peeves. And it's not even really a pet peeve. It's just like, this take long.
I never realized how long it took until the update. It's very
Yeah.
smooth now.
Yeah.
Stay humble, stack sats, freaks.
Peace and love, freaks.